Okay, we're 6 o'clock. Like to call this meeting to order. Pursuant Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20, hereby informing all attendees that a video and audio recording is being made of this meeting. If anyone else intends to record this meeting, they must make their intentions known to the chair. First order up. Public comment. You all set, Kathy? Okay. Next up, we got approval of minutes. We have
Chairman, I
minutes.
move approval of the minutes with 3 corrections. In the minutes section, my name is misspelled. In the Eagle Mill section, in the second line, it's Reese Larkin without a G. The correct name, I think, has no G in the second.
Correct.
Yeah,
And in the next to last line on page 2, my name is misspelled. Other than that, I move approval.
second,
Take,
the changes,
take Byron seconds with amendments.
yes.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, we'll go around the room. Conrad,
Sorry,
Peg,
aye,
Dave. Aye. Peter,
Aye.
Buck Donovan, aye. Works out easier on the recording, I think, for them. Next up, we have our open space recreational plan.
Chairman, I move we postpone this until 6:15 so that Seth, what's his last name?
He is
John
on,
Board. Oh, he's on. Oh.
he is on,
Oh,
and,
okay.
and he has a conflict.
Okay.
I
I thought we were gonna have to postpone until he could get here. But
no, he's here now, and he has to leave, I think, at
okay.
6:20,
oh,
so. Seth, can you hear us?
Sure can.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
I just gave you a quick explanation. So we need just a letter of endorsement from the planning board on the open space plan that was created as part of the master plan process. There was a subcommittee formed from the master plan group. They updated the 2017 Lee open space plan. It needs to be updated every 7 years. So we sent that document to the state. They sent us back a series of edits. We've addressed those edits. There's one more thing we need to address, and we've heard from them. However, we do have a letter from the select board with a formal endorsement, and the committee has approved the document. So you should have received a PDF of the document as part of your
We did.
select board.
Yeah. Did you get it today?
Well, I got it at 3:00
I-
this afternoon after I asked for it at the
I
office.
heard. Yeah,
Did we get it before that I missed?
I don't think so.
Okay. It's 262 pages. Right.
And you weren't able to.
3
process
hours. Yeah, but I do have some questions.
it? Okay,
Shall I go?
go ahead.
Seth, is it still subject to correction if there are minor problems with it?
Yeah, we will send one more version to the state.
Okay,
Like I said, we have to address, there's an enhanced outreach that we have to demonstrate to what are called the EJ population in the town. That's environmental justice. That's a group of census tracts defined by the state that qualify based on a series of criteria. And it could be income, could be percentage of minority, could be language spoken in the home. Lee qualifies based on the income level, and it's the census tract pretty much to the east of Main Street. So we just have
Okay,
to
so the
add a little bit of language.
question was whether you could still amend it. The answer, I think, is yes. Okay,
Yes.
do you have it in front of you?
I don't have it open in front of me, no. But I'm happy
Okay.
to take notes, or if you want to send me specific bulleted.
Let me tell you that on page 7, at the end of the next to last paragraph, the last sentence in the paragraph says, this document was subsequently used as the basis for the 2023 open space and recreation plan update for Lee. You mean to say the 2024 plan, right? Not 2023?
Yes, yeah, it was probably, the draft was submitted, and yeah, I can
You can
definitely
fix that.
update because it is the 2024. Yep.
And you mentioned the environmental justice. I think I read about environmental justice in 3 different places in the plan. I could have missed others. It's in the very early section summary. It's sort of further on and then again later. I couldn't find that there was agreement as to where the environmental justice areas are. In my recollection, Seth, the first 2 cases, you described the environmental justice area in Lee as having an eastern boundary of Main and Housatonic streets, and including the river and the western shore up to Spring Street. That's in the first 2 cases. And in the third case, I believe you described it as having Main Street and Housatonic Street as the western boundary, and the eastern boundary is Graylock Street. And it's all on the east side of the road. And those 3 descriptions do not seem to agree with each other. Is that possible that I'm reading this correctly?
It is possible that there is a mistake in the description of the EJ. There are the primary EJ area is what you first described in terms of being to the east of Main Street and kind of to the high school.
Main Street and Graylock Street. Yeah, okay.
Is
And-
Graylock Street is what runs in front of the high school and middle school.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
can't see me.
Sorry.
Would you like me to stand up so you can see my mouth moving and not just?
No, that's okay. I
Come
can-
over this side, Peter.
So Seth, tell me, now that the environmental justice thing has been described 3 times in detail, what did it matter for the plan and your actions and your recommendations? How does environmental justice figure into this, or is this just sort of a mandatory recitation for somebody at some bureau in Boston? Does it matter?
I don't know if I would put it in quite such stark terms, but this is largely a procedural addressing of something that's required by the plan. I think that the master plan survey was sent out to everyone in their water bills, so that it was felt that that was getting to everyone in the town. But we did try and flyer in that area specifically.
You have, near the middle of the plan and about page 100 or so, maybe 95, you have a nice little table. By the way, I want to, before I get too far into any concerns, I just want to say that I think some of the writing in this plan is really beautiful. It's very well described when you're in the section on current land use, on topography, on history. I thought it was frankly better written than what we did on the master plan, and covered a lot of the same ground, but I thought better. So congratulations to you on doing that excellent work. I also discovered in reading the plan that that's something I didn't know, that Lee has adopted the Scenic Mountain Act. Did you guys know that?
Yes.
Yeah, we dealt with that before.
We have?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I don't, might have been when you were in between.
Oh, okay.
what we had.
Yeah.
Well, it was news to me, and here I was chairing the master plan and never heard of this thing. That was a very important piece of the regulatory background in Lee. Anyway, that's my confession. So when we're in the table near the end, around page 100, did you make any recommendations about what would happen to the property on Stockbridge Road? Or the combined property?
There were recommendations that the town address invasive species on townwide, but specifically on that property. There were recommendations that some trail enhancements be done there, especially to connect Longcoat Park with the rest of the 300 Stockbridge Road parcel. That's why the town had acquired. There was an intervening parcel between the Stockbridge Road parcel and Longcoat Park, and the town recently was able to acquire that parcel.
So we did a lot of surveying about uses for that property, as I recall, early in your process. Am I right about that? We had,
Yeah, and that was a separate plan that we presented to the select board on at a recent meeting. We talked with them about kind of what the findings were from that.
and so there's not been any recommendation other than just put some trails in as to how that property would ultimately be used.
There wasn't consensus among the different groups. I mean, just about every group had kind of a specific agenda, and it didn't seem like any of those things rose to the level that the town wanted to initiate those. I mean, certainly the trail improvement and the invasive species work were both things that the Lee Land Conservancy was willing to partner on, and some other groups in town, but they were primary.
Okay, thank you. And I only got, I got to about page 100 and I realized that the plan was coming to an end, but there was still 160 pages to go. And the 160 pages apparently is an ADA compliance plan that's part of this.
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah,
explain
yeah.
why that's there?
So that's a component of the open space and recreation plan, that the town do an assessment of all of their open space elements and provide all of those tables. You know, there's hundreds of pages of tables. Each one of those properties was assessed for compliance with ADA requirements. So signage, gate width, transitions, ground cover,
So
and anything related.
the plan adopted by the town of Lee is going to describe for, I think, every town-owned park, its compliance with every single element in the checklist, multi-page checklist of compliance for ADA items. So that's going to be like 100 pages, more or less, of detailed survey responses. Is that right? That's going to be
Yeah,
part of.
and that's a requirement by the state. I mean, they specifically ask for all of those forms to be included.
Wow, that's an awful lot of detail, and I really think it's a mistake. I'm not blaming you, but to have a 260-page plan makes it essentially unreadable for most people in town, in my view. And I don't think we really need the plan to include whether, Bradley Park's fountain is an inch too low in the plan itself. But I guess if you have no choice, then I'll just shut up and vote yes. Thank you very much.
What I would say to the last comment was that you could certainly post just the open space plan, that first 100 page, which really is the core of the document, and then have a link to the appendices separate that are the survey, the results of the survey, and all of those forms. And then there is some other information that the state will want to see about other volunteer efforts that the town has put into Lee Parks.
Okay, that sounds better. 100 pages is much better than 260, especially when the last 160 are on a different subject. So thank you.
So, yeah, I mean, that's up to the town's prerogative in terms of what you want to put on your website. We'll have to submit the whole 260 pages to the state, like I said, because that's what they need to see for compliance with the open space.
I understand. I don't care
Okay.
what they see, but I do like the idea that people in Lee get to see something readable if possible. So thank you. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I hear you. If you go into something 260, it's a little, do you even want to start it?
I know. And then you're like 60 pages in and they haven't still recommended anything except they've described that we have mountains and we have, some houses. And back to the compliment part, Seth, your description about the evolution of the housing market and how and when housing of various types was built in Lee was really excellent. And it was a lot more detailed than our master plan. And I wish we had included it in our master plan, but that's a ship that's already sailed too.
We can always reference it.
Yeah,
you know?
well, if we revise it again and we're all
Yeah.
still here, we'll fix it, but. Anyway, so thank you for the chance to ask those questions, Mr. Chairman. I'm done.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. The environmental justice, are you going to change that or add to it, or what are you doing about that?
I will go back and I will check to make sure that the descriptions both match up. And then I do have to add a little bit of language about our enhanced outreach. That was one of the things that we heard specifically from the state reviewer, that they wanted to see additional language. That's even after a second. I addressed some of those in the latest version that I sent to her. So she said that she would like to see even a bit more. So I'm going to review some other plans for what language they specifically include and make sure that we include some of that. But it'll be, a couple sentences.
Okay, thank you.
That's kind of, I've seen that, on certain grants and, incentive programs that they reference if you're an environmental justice, household. So that's where they get this from this designation?
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
that's
Yeah,
good.
and those are census tract defined.
Okay.
So there's a viewer, the state has an EJ map viewer that you can go in and see that they update. It's a ESRI, GIS layer that you can see how those census tract qualify as well. It has information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Seth, if I recall, when we were working on this initially, wasn't there environmental justice plan exhibits that delineate where the environmental justice delineation was?
There is a map.
Yeah, there's a map that has the environmental justice community identified on it.
It's from Main Street to Graylock Street.
Right,
That's the later part. That's the third time it comes up.
okay,
The first two times, it's not, it's a different part of town.
all right. Yeah, just,
Right,
there's the mapping and then there was the description, so to speak. It sounds like the description might be what,
Well, there's three descriptions and one map, and the map matches the third description, but not the first two descriptions.
that's all I had.
Okay, anyone else? Nope. Thank you, Seth, for squeezing us in. I guess you got a busy night, huh?
I do. I think Lanesboro Planning Board is waiting for me. I'm in their
Okay.
town hall. I asked them to step away. So I did provide some language. If you're welcome to use that, or if you wanted to draft your own letter, but basically
We
it's
do
just-
have a letter that was provided by the town manager here, so. The planning board commends the work that your committee has done to create the updated open space and recreational plan. We appreciate the time and effort that all members of the committee have dedicated to developing the plan. Provides town boards, committees, and volunteers with a series of actions that will protect town resources while improving recreational offerings. As the July 8th, 2024 Lee Planning Board meeting, the board voted to endorse the Lee Open Space and Recreational Plan that was updated in 2024. Thank you again for your hard work. We look forward to implementing the final plan. That's what we have. Sound right?
Sounds great. So was the date on that July 23rd or the 8th? I'm sorry, I thought I heard it was or
It's going to be July 8th.
okay.
Okay? Is that all right?
Sounds great. Sounds great.
So I'd like to entertain a motion to endorse.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Dave motions.
With the
Peter
understanding
second.
that there will be the corrections we discussed.
Correct. Going around the room, Conrad, Peg,
aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Buck Donovan, aye. Okay. Good,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Have a good night.
There it is. Moving on. We have the sign report. Little different than what I expected, but
So when we changed the bylaw,
yep,
Conrad, I don't know if you were on the board when we did this. We used to spend a fair amount of time at planning board meetings granting or advising withholding of sign permits. And we would say, well, how big's the sign? How many square feet is it? Where is it located? You remember, have you been part of what this?
I was, yes, yes.
Yeah, so anyway, so we changed the bylaw. We said, this is just ministerial. It can be delegated to the staff. And, but they should report to us on what they're doing. And, I went over with the building commissioner. I made a comment. I think I sent him a suggested form that, said, you know, here's a form to use when you grant a sign permit, and who's got it, where is it located, how big is the sign, what's the zone, what's the allowable size, how far back is it? I think those were the only details. And I never heard again about that form or about sign permits until I started asking a few weeks ago. And then what we got is from the system, the computer system that keeps track of sign permits that are issued, we get this report, which tells you where the sign permits have been granted and what addresses.
Just for the last 30 days.
Yeah, but I think maybe the prior one we had for the prior meeting was a longer period. But the question I really wanted to ask is, was the board satisfied with this kind of report, or do you want to know more about, you know, the details of how they granted it? And I'm not sure what I think anymore. I mean, I think it was a reasonable small step to go from board granting to administrator granting with some check on the fact that he actually, you know, measured the sign against the standard. But the administrator administers a lot of things like the building code, but I'm not even competent to judge whether he's doing a good job or not a good job. And there's a lot of decisions that the building code administrator makes that we don't, and in some cases cannot really check. So maybe this is okay. And I just wanted to bring it up for discussion as to whether we want this kind of report or we want more detailed reports or no reports at all.
In most jurisdictions, the CEO or the building inspector is the one that makes the judgment call that here's the application for the sign, here's the exhibit. It does meet it, meet the code or it doesn't, or if he denies it, that's usually his jurisdiction. I thought it was a little different. When I got here, I saw where the planning board, here's the application, here's the exhibits. Before the building inspector actually issued a sign permit, it was forwarded to the planning board to review it.
Yeah.
And it was considerable amount of time under discussion. I know, like the Citgo thing down here, we went through a lot on that. A lot of discussion came up with illumination, it came up with graphics, it came in, you know, roof signs, what's the roof sign, what's the canopy sign? What's the size? What's the delineation around the text of the sign as being, you know, instead of individual, you know, they tried to get away with the idea that they took the square inches and converted to square feet of the actual channel letters as being, oh, that's a compliant sign. And we said, no.
So they weren't counting the center of the O, for example.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to take the perimeter around the outline of the signs. That's something we caught and we had discussion about it. But technically that is a CEO judgment call, interpretation. I think what we were thinking was we might be getting a summation of how that process was going. We really don't know.
Do you agree with me that we haven't heard anything since
Well,
it was enacted?
I agree, but I think we could, need a little more information than what we received right now. Could they take the old form, the people used to fill out and load it into the computer? And so it'd be still something that's computer originated, but include all the information.
From the application.
Exactly, yeah.
Or do we not want to do it at all and just leave it up to the CEO, like many towns do? I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing the application with this. You know,
I wouldn't either.
then we know what we're seeing.
Yeah,
So if that's the majority view, then maybe what we should do is rather than pass a motion tonight, we should just invite our enforcement officer in for the next meeting for further discussion.
And see, I mean, I could see if it's gonna be too labor intensive,
yeah.
I could see them balking at that,
Yeah,
but
so we should learn what his view is.
yeah. So if you want me to reach out to them,
That, I think that makes sense. If the board is wanting more than this,
well, I mean,
I think it's gonna require something from the.
I can decipher this, but I'm not sure if everyone can. Going down through, you see, Kathy DeBarons, she's the Chamber of Commerce, so that's some sort of sign she put in the park. We got Gordon, just hold on a second, Gordon. And then, Terry Russo, she's involved with the Congregational Church, so I assume something there also. And, Matt Kusevich, he bought, that's the guy that bought the Leaperville property
Well, that's what I was saying.
over by Lucky's, and 57 Park Street is the old Elling Hardware, the old, the antique store
Very
going in.
nice.
Okay, now you're up, Gordon.
Thank you, sir.
How are you?
I think the best thing, I like the recommendation of asking the zoning enforcement officer to come in and sit down and talk about this, but knowing how computer programs are and whatnot, I think it would be very simple to run a report with a number of fields, and the application should have fillable fields so that all they have to do is print out a report and fill in the fillable fields. So you would have the height of the sign, the size of the sign, the location. I mean, it's very easy to work with that as a data, as a spreadsheet. And then you would see all the information that you're talking about.
Yep.
I would not recommend that you folks not get reports and keep an eye. You're the check and balance in my mind. So I would hope that you would continue to get reports, but speak with them about clarity of the report. I think that's really important. Many of the ones you just talked about were actually, I don't know why they applied online for those, because those were all temporary signs and would have gone through the Board of Selectmen and not through the building department for permanent signs. So I'll have to, as a member of the board, I would reach out to the zoning enforcement officer and actually ask him why it's going into that system. But even still, we have all that information at our meetings when we approve the temporary signs, and you should have
Yep.
that information to do a spot over check. So that's all. Thank you.
I don't think it'd be too much to ask for the permit itself. That shows you all of the,
If you want them to print that out, I don't think that's bad. I just thought a spreadsheet with everything,
Yeah.
listed out might be helpful, but you know what? The application itself is probably, how many permanent applications do we really get in a month? I can't believe there would be a lot.
there was two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, so that's not so bad. They could print them out, staple it to the report, and it would be done. So if we were doing 50 a month, that might be a different issue.
Gordon, I may be wrong about this, but I think this computer system is something that we signed on to that already existed, and it's not our creation. Am I right?
Yes, however, our contract with them is that they will modify it as we need and want.
Oh, good.
So, we've already, when the code changes, which it's just doing now, the supplier of that program has to go in and redo a whole bunch of fields. So it's not unheard of for them to change some fields around for data input.
I'm glad to hear that it can be done. Thank you.
Yes, no problem. Thank you.
You put an agenda item?
Yes, I will, and I'll reach out to our building official and come back with a report. Okay. And if you guys, funny, I never usually see these. This is all the surrounding towns,
All right.
public hearings and all that have gone on. You wonder what I'm looking at. And anybody on the television wondering, I'm just going through, gonna throw it all away. Big conspiracy, we're hiding it all.
That's all right.
So that's what all this is. We got Beckett, Lennox, public hearings.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Actually, the law states that when a planning board is going to have a special permit hearing, you have to notify the abutting towns. You have
yeah,
to
I
by law.
Right.
Yeah, you
Okay,
do.
I just wanted to make sure you understood that.
Yep. Yep, they get all of ours also.
And they'll probably
Have
pay
you ever
just
gone to
much
one to see the
more
way
than
it's
you
run?
are.
What was that?
You should go to one and see the way they run them. Wow. It's the variation between towns is just unbelievable.
I've heard Lennox is pretty tough.
Yeah, a lot of theirs go to the ZBA and not the planning board.
Yep.
But you're right. And selectmen, and do it in Stockbridge, and it varies by town based on what the special permit's for.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we are right through our agenda.
Hmm. Wonderful.
Suggestions for future?
Mr. Chairman, could we have a report at the next meeting on when our assistant is likely to be available, our planner?
Will do. Status of the planner?
I went in today to meet her. I thought today was her starting day. And I found out that there's some immigration issue and work permits that's holding her up.
Okay,
And I don't know if there's a date when she can expect to be at work or
I
not.
thought we were closer to August is when she was due to
Oh.
start.
Oh, okay. Maybe,
Okay.
maybe I misunderstood.
Um, And if you don't see it on when the agenda comes out in those days prior, just throw in a note and
Okay,
remind.
okay.
All right, anybody else? Okay,
Yeah, what, then?
What do you got?
Did we ever discuss, in industrial zones? Like we ran into with Smiley, yes, up on Woodlawn? With what remainder of the industrial zones, so we could build on them, residential?
There is a clause in there that granted him that ability through special permit.
But are the rest of the industrial zones that we have left have the same clause in it?
Same
Okay.
thing as in the industrial zone, it says residential is permitted through special permit.
There were footnotes in the bulk regulations that said thou shalt not have residential.
Yeah.
and Industrial zone, so there's a conflict when the application came forward, and we got clarity.
Yeah.
In the discussion here, I think that Gordon added some flavor to it as well. So that's one of those things we gotta cleaned up in the code. In revisions as we go along.
Okay,
We just had a question,
careful. Future future agenda items.
no, we're good. We're good.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Hi, as far as future agenda items go, could you have some coming up pretty soon about review of residential zoning language? Because I think we need to discuss that based on a lot of the recommendations we've gotten recently from some subcommittees. There's some incredibly antiquated language. I won't go into it now, because it's not on your agenda, other than to request that discussions of residential zoning language be put on your agenda.
Okay,
Thank you.
right.
That's it.
Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
So moved. Second,
Okay.
Dave, all in favor?
Aye.
Good night, folks.
There.